Welcome to Absolute Comics, everyone, the show that Sal and I bring to you every Tuesday right here at the Comicstorian Podcast Network, where we sit around and we talk about the latest news and stuff happening in comic books, or comic book movies, or comic book TV shows, or pretty much it's comic themed. It's what we do here. Generally we talk about it all. And we're also sponsored by G Fuel, which you could use the code COMICS at checkout to get 10% off of your order. There's someone else here who's working out his own G Fuelness, who's a guest for, he's already got his G Fuelness worked out. There's someone else here who's joining us to discuss today's topics. Someone you guys all remember, or you may remember, or you might not remember. I do it live too, Sully. My intros are all over the place, but that keeps people guessing when I'm going to talk about the topic so they can't skip me. Sully, who are you, other than your name being Sully? What do you do?
Yes, he got it. He got my name right. I am Sully. I am a free agent nerd. I am a podcaster, and I am an affiliate Twitch streamer. You can catch me on all my channels, CS Sully, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and you can catch my podcast, Movie Retakes, anywhere you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Twitter with the same name.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, you really cleaned that up nice with the time. I gave you a heads up this time, so you were thinking about it, right? You were preemptively planning it all out.
I've done it a few times this week. I've done a few lives. I've had a little time to workshop it and see what the response is, you know.
Excellent.
You want to keep it short and concise, unlike what I do, but you also want to get across all the messages, you know? Like when I edit YouTube videos, it's normally like, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, and you can check out my Patreon and go check me out on Instagram. I'm also over on Twitter, and I got this OnlyFans account you can go check out where I do Speedo art. You know?
Subscriber.
Did you like that latest one? I did the Captain America Speedo, you know?
It was the lighting was fantastic. I don't know who your lighting guy is, but stick with him. Stick with him. Or her. Okay. I'm not judging.
No, it's true.
So, guys, today's topic is going to be basically a few things that were announced that relate to comic books. Nothing crazy, though. And then we brought Sully back because we wanted to discuss San Diego Comic-Con. And is it dead? Is it going to live? It's officially over now. Sal and I made that other video in the middle of it, but now it's over. So what does that mean? So why don't we go down the topics first, because I got a feeling these are going to be done quick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the X-Men old lady villain group Horticulture returns to assist in a Plants vs. You know what? We're moving on. We're not talking. So, Sully, if you don't know, hold on. Let me see if this entices you. And Sal can correct me if I'm incorrect on this. The X-Men have been weird and all over the place. There's an old lady villain group whose entire purpose is to make plants, and they're fighting the X-Men.
Well, it's like it's a team of old ladies modeled after the Golden Girls, and their whole conceit is that they protect and control gardens and plants, and of course, because the X-Men's entire economy, way of life is plant-based now, it brings them into conflict with the X-Men. It's very silly, and it's played for laughs, but they are a force to be reckoned with.
No.
Does an old lady group? Are you going to get the old lady group Funko Pops?
Oh man.
Well, now that's a different story, but you know.
Well, there's already Golden Girls Funko Pops.
Yep.
So you could actually modify your own, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel like there's an Etsy for that.
I'm going to hard pass that one.
That's fair. I will say that tie-in, it's an Empire X-Men tie-in. It's written by Teenie Howard and Jonathan Hickman. It is part of the X-Men ongoing stuff. So, like, if you were like, oh, I can sleep on this, stuff happens in it, and it kind of matters to the whole Hickman X-Men run. So it's like, it is kind of important, and it's very silly and ridiculous. It's a really fun read, and I think it's only like 3 or 4 issues. So I think it's worth picking up.
Nice little side story.
Yeah, exactly. Very weird. If you wanted to know what the fate of Genosha is, if you want to know what Angel's plan is, as far as Xavier's whole vision for the future, there's a lot going on. It's a lot of fun.
I'm not interested, Sully, so don't pretend like you have to be interested. So
No problem. No problem.
Okay, we're going to move over to the next one because it relates to topics we don't typically talk about on the show. Amazing Spider-Man, Sin's Rising Prelude brings us to the origin story and the history behind the villain, Sin Eater. Wait, is Kindred? This isn't even Kindred? Okay.
No.
you got anything you want to say on them making another villain before getting... So, just so you know, Sully, they've been building up this villain, Kindred, for almost 40 issues now.
Yep.
Whoa.
We don't know who he is, what he does, or what's going on. But I guess now they're going to be bringing another villain in.
Yeah, it's a classic like 70s Spider-Man villain called the Sin Eater. He's actually the only reason why any Marvel fans might remember him is two things. One, he killed Jean DeWolf, and if you don't know who that is, I don't blame you. It was happened in the 70s. The other thing is his identity was used retroactively in a plot line that connected Eddie Brock to Peter Parker. It was very tangential, but it made the whole universe feel really lived in. Sin Eater hasn't been used since his death in like 1978 or whatever. So they resurrected him, and now he's like actually powered and able to
do things.
Because he used to be just a police sergeant who shot people with a shotgun.
So he's Punisher, but bad guy.
Yes, and a cop unless you follow any origin of the Punisher, which includes a movie. In which case, he's already a cop. But yeah, who cares? Sin Eater's back. Yay.
Like we said, Sully, very quick topics we're skipping over. That's why I thought it'd be great to bring you in to talk about San Diego. So I'll move through these last ones real quick.
Please,
Miles is going to become the leader of a new spider-based hero team called the Order of the Web.
Oh.
That's cool. I mean, they tried that already with him. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'll pass.
That one actually sounds interesting.
Yeah, I was like, I want to see Miles do something other than be young Spider-Man. Because that's what it boils down to a lot of the time.
Yes.
It's the exact same adventures that Spider-Man has, but on a smaller scale. That's what they do with Miles. Like,
yeah. Well, what else are you gonna do? He is young Spider-Man. He's in a weird place.
He is. Well, because so Sully, right now, Spider-Man fights these big, everlasting villains, and they're gonna destroy all of New York. And Miles is like, I'm gonna go find a kidnapped kid. Like,
right.
Stay in friendly neighborhood version, like in the MCU. Yeah,
basically
helping that old lady get her churro or get her purse back, and he gets a churro.
That's right.
Hellions too quietly renames a character with a name that is ill-conceived reminder of racism and the horrors of war, renaming the villain Jean Greycrow, aka Scalp Hunter, or simply Greycrow. That sounds like another thing that just got past the marketing department. No one check it.
Nobody was using Scalp Hunter, and when they invented him, there were fewer agencies that were trying to like advocate for, more reasonably named, less offensively named superheroes. And now it's like, you can't get away with calling a character Scalp Hunter.
Like, I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom Taylor is teasing a potential comic book follow-up to the Injustice universe. As he tweeted out, I think it could have been different. Batman with the Injustice logo. That, to me, as a huge Injustice fan, you know the Injustice universe, right, Sully?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the video game, which then became a huge comic book hit, which I think has a ton of toys in all kinds of directions. I think the problem, I don't think they're going to make another Injustice game. Or it's so far out, DC's doing a what-if kind of a thing.
That's what I was going to akin it to, yep.
Yeah, because we don't have anything else to work with on it, but they already tried that. They had Injustice versus the Masters of the Universe. So it was He-Man.
I saw that.
It was awesome.
Yeah. You got me a Motu. I love it.
Yeah. So
I love this idea. And we've seen the what if option in Injustice, because Batman has said like how it could be different. Remember when they save Lois instead of she getting killed by Superman, and then we go down that path for a while. So I'm in.
And if you play the video games, which I have, the ending of every single one of them basically boils down to a what-if version of the ending. So in theory, everybody who was featured in the game... It's like you've played Mortal Kombat, right, Sully? Like way back in the day? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because Injustice is a little bit newer. I don't know if you actually got to sit down and play Injustice. You know when you...
A little.
Okay. But you know when you beat the old school Mortal Kombat towers, you'd get the what-if ending for that character. They had all of those for the DC superheroes, so we could very easily do what-ifs on all of those.
Totally.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that is the biggest one, isn't it? Launched a Heroes at Home comics line with variant covers to support COVID-19 and the shutdowns. Okay. I mean, that's a cool idea, but Marvel's done stuff like that before. And 5 days after being promoted to publisher, Jude Myers is put on administration leave. IDW provided no comment as to why.
Yep,
Whoa.
IDW just lost Chris Rael. He stepped down and is moving on to other things. They promoted Jude Myers, and then 5 days later, he's gone. And
Wow.
they won't say what's going on, and it does kind of suggest, like, hey, maybe Chris knew what was going on and left preemptively to avoid the crazy storm that was going to arise from whatever happened at IDW. I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah. IDW is always in a state of flux, and I always feel bad because, like, IDW puts out some really good books, and it's like, I wish they could get their house in order because, like, we don't want to lose The Last Ronin now. Like, come on, you guys, get your house in order.
Yeah. What do you? Okay. So going to our San Diego topic basically now. Let's start with the Turtles in general. Do you know about the Last Ronin book, Sully?
I do not.
Okay. So they're coming out with a comic book, and I want to get your theory as to who this could be. One turtle is alive. The other three died, but they're not saying who that turtle is. So as a Turtles fan, at least on a passing and a deeper level, I'm not 100% sure what your fandom is. Which turtle out of all four do you think would survive?
I mean, you can clearly tell by my answer how little I know about the Turtles, but I'm a Donatello guy just because I like his weapon, so I'm going Donatello.
Okay.
Nice.
I just remember we talked a lot about the Turtles toys, so I was like, maybe he knows a little bit more about the Turtles.
No, I watched the Toys That Made Us about turtles, and I found that incredibly interesting, going back to the origin of the comic books and the creation of the toys and everything. So I know a little bit. I'm armed with enough knowledge to be dangerous, but I've seen the movies too. I saw the back in the 90s with Vanilla Ice, and then I saw the Michael Bay one. So I'm a little bit into it, but Donatello was always my guy just because of the staff.
Okay.
Nice.
The theories that we've been running around with either Michelangelo, because the happy-go-lucky guy now has to deal with the ramifications of everything, or it's always Raphael. It always seems to be Raphael that get ousted by the group, and he doesn't show up because he was angry at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Time to turn it on its ear. Don't make it Rafi this time. No.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Donatello would be interesting to just see, like, he's the survivor. So.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Down for that.
lackluster topics. For those who don't know, we normally talk about those a lot more in depth, but like there was nothing to talk about. So that's all the news my team dragged up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about San Diego Comic-Con.
What was that now? Did that happen?
Yeah, that was the
what?
thing that happened. So what? Sully, you've been politely just kind of sitting there waiting for us to get to topics that you would know information about. Why don't you explain the current? We discussed it a little, so why don't you open up with our discussions on San Diego? The problem.
Well, I mean, the big problem was we couldn't go. That was problem number one. But so they basically had 2 months, Comic-Con International, to pull together something to keep the fans involved, and decided on doing another virtual con, which is what everybody's doing these days. Yep. And they put together some programming, and they did just like they normally do, where they don't reveal the schedule until a 2-week window before, and they release each day. I watched the first two reveals, preview night and the Thursday lineup, and I didn't see anything in there I was extremely excited about. But then the Friday, Saturday, Sunday ones came out, and I was already busy because I was trying to create content, and so were some other friends of mine that were putting things together, and I didn't get to pay that close of attention. I just jumped in where I could and saw what kind of programming they were putting out. For me, that was the most of it.
I mean, generally, I wait for everyone to tweet me the important stuff. I mean, it's a little more reactive than proactive, but that's always how I've done San Diego for the most part. Like, I'll look at the notes from the big panels, Hall H stuff. Right. But all the side stuff, I just wait for people to tweet me and tell me.
It's a sure system, by the way.
Yeah.
Because
it's like only looking on Twitter at the stuff that's trending.
That's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it. Was anything trending from San Diego as a result on Twitter?
There were
I didn't catch one of them.
items.
Did you? What'd you see?
It was mostly about reveals that came up during, like, I know The Boys got a season 3 greenlit already, and that was announced in their panel. I think they finally put out a full-length trailer for the Lower Decks, that spin-off Star Trek series, or not spin-off, but a Star Trek series that's actually in the world of Star Trek. It's canon, and it's run by one of the guys that left Rick and Morty, that's also doing that, I forget the other name of that show on Hulu that they're doing that's Rick and Morty-esque.
I've
Yes,
never understood why they didn't expand Star Trek beyond the show. They never did spin-offs or whatever. The comic series never took off like Star Wars. I never understood why it always seemed to be a lot. Star Trek always felt so self-contained.
It's happening now. They're going to have, I think they have 5 programs in development now that are all Star Trek through CBS, because CBS has the all access. And that was some of what they talked about during their panel. I actually did watch that one live. It was one of like 3 I watched live.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, but all in all, I mean, I thought the programming, if you were in a Hall H or a Ballroom 20, could have been terribly entertaining. Could have been a lot of fun to be there when you see the stars in person. That's a lot of what Hall H and Ballroom 20 and Comic-Con's all about. But to watch it on video, I mean, I think a lot of people, we talked about it beforehand, just like, oh, I'll wait and I'll catch it on YouTube or IGN's site later because they were promoting everything and recording it and making it live.
Yep.
But we had exclusives too.
Because it was like half dead for the most part whenever I would tune in. So, yeah, I just said, I'll just catch it all later. Someone will tweet me or I'll just see the video of, like, The Boys. I was interested in The Boys. That's about it. I think it's the only one I tuned in for.
Yeah.
I was actually more excited about the Xbox showcase than I was about anything that was announced at San Diego.
Same. I watched that live. I was up early. I had my coffee in hand. I was watching that as it went down. That was great.
The wife and I were sitting on the couch. We're eating our breakfast. We're like, yes, Halo!
Yep. World premiere.
I love how they do that. And the whole Xbox showcase is like, that's all this is the Xbox World premiere. It's like, you don't need to say it every 5 minutes, guys. Like,
I don't know. It kind of resets every time. I'm like, oh, I'm ready for another one now. In case you got on your phone or whatever, you knew to look up. You know,
right? World premiere. Which reminds me, I got to get that Grounded game today, where your kids in the yard. And it's like Minecraft. That looks awesome. And it's don't snicker.
It sounds fun.
You're shrunken in the backyard, and you got to build up bases with like leaves and sticks. And
I'll admit that. It looked interesting to me too. I always wanted to be in Honey, I Shrunk the Kid. So that's
exactly.
Perfect.
Thank you. God. It's like to me, it seemed like the kind of game that like you and me, Sully, are going to be like, yes, let's play this, and like all the kids are going to be like, yes, let's play this. You know, it'd be
that's out today.
Today it should be out. Yeah, I believe it's out today.
All right, making a note.
Yeah.
Where's my pen?
We'll do a co-op stream later. You and me. We'll just play that game.
Oh, I like it.
We'll build our backyard up, Sully.
That's a weird phrase. What do you got going on back there? Wait, what?
Yeah, so I think that's part of the problem, though. Not like case in point, I don't know. There's a guy in our chat, Crim Shade, said, I don't think an event that pulls at 130,000 people is quite dead. That's problem one. It didn't pull anybody in this year. Secondly, I know a lot of people that didn't even know this was happening. Period. Right. Like people in the industry that were like, wait, there's a stay-at-home Comic-Con thing happening? You know, I was doing stuff on Saturday when Sal and I were doing our thing, and I had plans with some friends that night, but I was really tired, and I was like, well, yeah, I had to do a bunch of San Diego Comic-Con stuff. And like, what are you even talking about? That's not happening this year. I'm like, it's live right now. Like,
yeah. Although that's a misnomer because like nothing was live. It was all just like pre-recorded stuff that they front-loaded weeks prior, and then they were just like, it's live released, but it's all stuff that we all curated and cultivated and put together. There is no surprise. I mean, the surprise was the reveals, but there was nothing spontaneous or off the cuff or just kind of like. You have to be there. There was no feeling of that.
Again, that's part of the experience of going to one of those panel rooms is you can go stand at the mic. You can be the lowest person on the totem pole who hadn't left your house in 12 years, and you can get up there and ask a question and get an immediate response from your favorite actors, actresses, directors, writers, producers.
Yep.
I mean, we didn't get to see Button Lady in Hall H once, which is just that's a loss. I don't even know what she did. I hope she's okay, you know?
That's your big takeaway from the San Diego. Sully's like, I really need to find Button Lady. I got to figure out where she is, if she's okay.
I don't really want to talk to her. I just want to know that I might see her at future cons, you know?
Right. So you made it. You're good. Okay, good. I don't want to know the story. Just that you're good.
Going to our conversation that we had going before, I was kind of interested in, like, IGN was filming everything and putting it out on Comic-Con's YouTube page and on their pages, and I was interested to see what the viewership of these things were like. I was watching the Chris Hardwick hosted the Walking Dead panel. That was one of the only other ones that I watched live because I'm a giant Hardwick fan, and that one had like 3,500 people, I think, watching live, and right now it is the leading... No, there's one. New Mutants was the leading panel, with 209,000 total views. Like 130,000 people go to the con, but only 200,000 have watched the YouTube video. That's shocking. Yeah. And then like AMC's The Walking Dead at 90.
Yeah, no.
It's in a weird state, and that's kind of what I wanted to get at, because one thing that I noticed is, yes, we had The Boys, we had Walking Dead.
Mutants,
There was the
Walking
New
Dead,
Mutants.
yeah.
All these kind of things. But
Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted. I'm
Yep.
so excited to see Bill and Ted.
Same.
Genuinely like, yay! By the way, I think they're releasing it same day. Like, I think it's like digital and theater.
Yeah, they're
They
going to put it in
August
whatever
1st.
theaters will take it, and they're going to do digital at the same time.
So smart.
I'll pay the $20. I mean, it still comes out as a bargain if you got 2 or more people in your house. You're already coming out ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I'm gonna have
We've been doing that, actually. Everyone will come over the house. We'll watch the movie here, just like normal. Everyone stays away from big events. If you go to a big event in my friend group, you don't see us for 2 weeks. That's how we handle it right now. Well, I mean, I think it's a pretty fair shake, right, Sully? We're all hanging out. But if you go do this big thing with like 20 people, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely fair.
You can go risk yourself. That's fine. But no, I think people are abusing that. They're just not telling me when they go places. But that's another discussion for another day.
You're like, I saw your Instagram. Get the hell out of here.
Exactly. It's like, where were you at today? Ooh, there's like 20 people there.
Nope.
I'll see you in 2 weeks for the pizza party.
Should have thought of that before you went to that family reunion.
Yeah, exactly. But it's weird because, like, yes, we had a couple of those things, and I think that those companies really came through to help out San Diego present something this year, because that's the worst thing you can do is kill all the hype on your convention. But Marvel and DC like barely showed up, and there was no.
What did they even
MCU
announce?
Well, yeah, there's no MCU announcement. They never really did much comic book announcements during this. I mean, I've always wished they would have, but they never really did. So.
Agreed.
Well, and to your point, like, what was Comic-Con doing to advertise it? I know because I'm in my circles.
Right.
But I didn't see this giant, big advertising campaign taking over Twitter with, trending hashtags and stuff. Like, it just wasn't there. Little individual announcements might have trended, like we talked about, but Comic-Con at home should have been top of that list for all of Comic-Con, and I don't think it was.
Agreed.
I feel like... I hate to say this because Sal and I bring this up a lot, but a lot of these conventions are just kind of run by old hats who have never really like gotten up to date on internet and social media, things like that. And I almost feel like San Diego's organizers were really just kind of hoping that word of mouth was going to be plenty. A hashtag San Diego at home or something was going to be good, and they would get just as many people interested as they normally do.
That is absolutely the mentality of that group. I've worked for 2 big companies over the last 10 years doing social media, and social media has always been hey, we didn't have the budget for everything else. Why don't you guys talk about it and make it go viral?
Yeah.
No, that's
just
that's
make
not
it
how that
viral,
works.
Sully. Just do it.
Where's the button?
Isn't that what we hired you for?
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, if you do have a way to make things viral, Sully, I have a social media position that I could bring it on.
Oh, I can. Yeah, I can confirm. I've got that button on standby anytime you're ready.
Viral.
I will find the budget for somebody that can make it go viral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
got like McDonald's money.
and I feel like that's part of the problem with this. It was hastily put together. They grabbed what they could. They didn't let anything live happen, so you didn't have like a Tom Holland slip up. You didn't have Elijah Wood walking around with a horse mask and then everyone going, "Oh my God!" Like you didn't have any of this. It was all pre-recorded, so you didn't even get live interaction. It's not like James McAvoy was watching the Twitch chat and like, "Oh, this is a great question. Let's answer it here." Like you didn't have that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and somebody said earlier in the chat, and I'm sorry I didn't get the name of the person, but they said they waited too long to cancel it. I mean, that's what we live in right now. All these cons, they make their bread and butter by people showing up and buying merch and supporting that city. Like San Diego lost out on like $150 million by this thing not happening. They had to hold on to the last second in case there was hopes that they could have this thing. And they gave us, a 2-month notice. Star Wars Celebration did the same thing. I don't even think we've heard about New York Comic-Con yet and what they're planning to do.
No, I think
but
they're
they've got to wait.
As they can.
Exactly. Yeah. They're probably going to do the 2-month thing as well. They watched and saw what happened with San Diego, and then they're going to produce New York. I hope they do better, but it's going to be the same thing we just sat through San Diego, I bet.
Yeah. I hope not, because like at the very least they're not run by the same companies. Like
true.
If there had been a Reed exhibition within the pandemic that should have come out but was done online, we'll get a better idea. Because like Reed shows are pretty by the numbers. Like if you've seen a PAX show, you've seen C2E2, you've seen New York Comic Con, you've seen Emerald City. Yep. So like if there has been a Reed show, if like PAX did a live show or some kind of like online exclusive thing, that'll be the roadmap that they'll use to show you what New York Comic Con is going to look like. You're absolutely right. They're not going to get that deposit back from the Javits Center. They are definitely going to be like, we gotta wait until like September 30, or like 30 or 31st.
Yep.
Or 30th. I think there's only 30 days in September. But like, they're going to wait until the last possible second and then go like, it's online. You're welcome. And like no one, there was no hype for this show, and the problem was like the people who were going to like try and like make it go viral, or at the very least like help kind of carry its body across the finish line. There weren't enough of them, and they weren't nearly as like genuinely enthused. It was more just like, oh, is that happening? I mean, I guess I could tweet about it. Like, oh, it's too bad that it's not working out. Like, hey, check out this thing. Like, that's not enough. Like, you can't just have Kevin Smith host every panel and hope that his audience will just go and watch all your panels.
It's weird to see, because a lot of people like to give the conventions crap for delaying for so long before canceling, but it's those people that don't understand like how much money is going to be straight up lost when they cancel. Yeah. Like, I don't even give them crap for taking so long. Everyone's like, oh, because you wouldn't cancel, I couldn't get a deposit back. Like, one, because I'm thinking more back to Emerald City. One, no hotel told you, I'm sorry, due to the pandemic, you can't get your money back. Any professional business is not going to stop that whole thing. I know we had issues with, like, more smaller companies dealing with that, but I'm pretty sure, like, the Marriott's not going to take the heat for that one. You know?
Yeah. You don't want to be the one standing out in the crowd, for being the negative one,
Right. You know, if you decided to go with an Airbnb and they told you no, well, I mean, that's what you get for dealing with people directly. That's why,
Airbnb.
But that's also why I always go to the big corporate places. Yeah, you pay a little bit more money, but you get that warranty. But like, they're gonna wait until the last second. They're all going to, because no one knows what is happening. Like right now, there's talks in the U.S. about possibly another shutdown, which will go for a bare minimum of another month. Do you think they thought about that back in March? Like,
no. It's going to happen. I think it's going to happen in the fall, right when New York Comic Con would be, and I think they might as well just go ahead and cancel. But again, they're not going to, because there's a chance.
Yeah,
there's a chance they could have those doors open.
Well, there is talks of, I know right now there's a vaccine being worked on that is in human trials. So,
probably still won't be available until next year, though.
Yeah.
Because
not only do they have to make it, but then it has to get mass produced.
Yep. Well, and you need the time and the grace period to see that it doesn't have any side effects or any like significant ramifications. And we don't know also like what the incubation period is. Like, let's say it works. You know, we have the flu shot every year, but then you hear how it's like, well, it's only 25% effective because like there's many different strains of the flu. The COVID is similar in terms of like, well, you could protect yourself from this strain, or you could protect yourself at this point. We don't know enough about it because it's too new for us to really defend ourselves properly. Like we've been dealing with the flu for over 100 years. Like we know how to properly protect ourselves, even though most of us don't. So like we're in a weird place. The guarantee, the only guarantee I think for anybody is like a year, like March, April, maybe. And it's like, and people were it was hard to imagine in April that it was going to be like, it's probably going to take over the summer. People in April were like, no way is it going to last the summer. No way.
It's going to burn off in the sun.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's only 3 months. Like, you have 12 more to go. And we're talking about cons. I was at a comic book store the other day. They opened up their warehouse and they had like 90 long boxes, and I went through. My wife and I go, and they're practicing social distancing. We're wearing masks. They limited the amount of people who could go in the store. We brought like rubber gloves, which I never do when I handle comics. I just kind of like, I just grab comics, but like, you know, they're all out of, not bagged and boarded. They're just books in long boxes.
They were already disgusting, though.
Yep. She wore gloves. At the end of the day, the gloves were black. And it's like, it was just a great visualization of like, there's no way we're ready. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and that's just the comic book angle, which is like 10% of a convention at this point anyway. I don't know. It's just like, we're not ready and we're not prepared. And you're talking about packing, I don't know, 150,000 people in one building.
I saw a chart I was talking about on another podcast that said, here's the list from things you can do, like going outside for a walk, all the way to the worst possible things you could do, your chances of getting COVID. And it was like, go to a sporting event or a bar. Well, Comic-Con is like a sporting event and a bar combined and multiplied by 10.
Yes.
I don't really need that kind of chance in my life of getting COVID, so I'll stay home for a while. Just hey, Reed, if you're watching, could you start thinking about New York Comic Con and maybe start prepping now on what a live virtual event might look like and how we can enjoy stuff from our big studios and comic book companies? And
and we know for a fact clearly that like TV studios, movie studios, comic book studios have no idea what to do online.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. But Reed, you own the Penny Arcade Expo, so you work with people who work digitally all day long. Call them as consultants and ask them to help put together New York Comic Con digitally. Like,
thank you.
Get the experts. For example, there are at least 3 people right now who know something about how to make a living online and how to make content that people who like comic books watch.
I'm going to throw a caveat on top of that. We're also widely available at the moment because we have not much going on other than Twitch.
These are people who would have gone to New York Comic Con but could host it instead.
I've been streaming since March, right? And my camera quality and audio quality is about 1,000,000 times better than every single celebrity that was at it, except for maybe for Zack Snyder. His looked fantastic. But Joss Whedon, who's also a director, his look like crap. Come on, Joss.
Yeah. How is it our setups are better than late night talk show hosts who had 3 months to prepare and be ready? Like, there's no excuse for you using your laptop onboard camera angled upwards at your face.
In your nose.
Do people not understand that, like, when you take a camera and you angle it this way, you look so fat and nasty?
Yeah, it's just not good. And, like, you don't need... Like, I don't expect Conan O'Brien to know that. He checked out 35 years ago. But, like...
Yeah, he just cracks jokes to people filming now.
Yeah, like, and like, I love Conan. I'm a die-in-the-wool, like, Conan fan. But,
Team Coco.
Conan, no kid of yours knows how to angle a webcam. I promise you they do.
I will say I think he's doing it more as the whole irony of it. Like, he's doing it intentionally. Because he's had, like, I mean, he's done it he's also done skits at home, like, where he spoke to, I think, Harvard. So none of you are here, so I had to film this in my backyard. You know,
that was pretty. I watched that whole thing. It was great.
That's what I'm saying. So I think he's doing that more as a, aha, we look at all of us celebrities not knowing how the internet works.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, if you are just blending in with everybody, you're not really making a statement, you know? Like, it just looks really bad. And it's going on TV, where there's no excuse.
Well, I will say, with him, I get a feeling it was more like, this will be a funny joke, and now everyone does it, so it's less of a joke and more of reality.
I think it's more like he thinks the joke... Well, we're getting off topic. I was going to say, it's just like, he thinks the joke is that where he's like, you want me to do the show from my desk at my house? It's not a show. Like, I would rather do nothing. And they're like, just do the barest minimum you can. And he's like, okay. Like, he's more like teaching the executives a lesson as opposed to him, like, doing it as a kind of meta Andy Kaufman-esque comedy.
To bring it back to the con thing, you kind of stumbled into something, and I saw somebody else, Flashpool, in the comments said, no Conan pops this year. That's what's really missing. Well, Conan always did those lives during San Diego Comic-Con from the Spreckles Theater.
Yeah, right.
Why didn't Comic-Con work with Hardwick and Conan and Jimmy, both the Jimmies, and do some sort of Comic-Con quality stuff to be streamed out on their and shown on their channels as well? That would have gotten at that notoriety, that attention that it really deserved from a national audience. That's why people didn't know.
I feel how come they didn't stream at least one panel from Team Coco's YouTube channel with like 6 million subs or whatever?
Did Sci-Fi do anything this year? I didn't even see.
If they did, I didn't see it.
I feel like they didn't even properly. What's the word? Like, they were so unprepared for this whole thing. Like, San Diego Comic-Con should have come out the gate and been like, this is the example. Reed, you need to follow suit with us. Because Reed created their conventions based on San Diego, and they made New York and everything else. They should have come out as the example of what an at-home Comic-Con should have been. And I felt like they watched all the other really poor attempts and were like, that's fine.
Good enough.
Yeah. Oh, cool. We don't have to work as hard. And, like, listen, they lost a ton of money. So I can imagine that they don't want to spend more to make an equivalent that's not going to make a tenth of what they were going to bring in with a live show. I understand that, but at the same time, there is some element of brand management you have to have where you're like, hey, listen, you look really bad. Like it looks lousy. You're diminishing the quality and the overall, cultural visual of your brand. Like people are now going to go like, remember the gap year for San Diego Comic-Con? Like, remember the gaslight year where it's like, yeah, that year when San Diego was not only a joke, it was wholly irrelevant. Like when nothing happened and it looked really stupid and people just pre-gamed. It was just totally lame. Like, come on.
It's a shame. To be fair, they were completely caught off guard, unprepared.
Totally.
We know that. It was an impossible situation, and maybe they did the best they possibly could. I know they're a non-profit. I don't know if that adds any difficulty level to it.
Probably.
But Reed should be watching, and hopefully can do something.
Yeah.
Yes. Just pick up the phone and call the professionals. Please.
Sal, I feel like every time we do these shows and we talk about conventions, you're always trying to get another job. Do you not like it here on this podcast?
It's a good job. It's only once a week.
He's got 6 other days.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
He's got all this open time. I don't know what you're
listen, I don't necessarily want the job, but I do want those who can do it to have it. Like I just want like the job I want it to look good. I want to be excited because that's the thing. We don't go. We all go to New York Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con. We go to cons for the professional aspect of it because we are like in this industry and we do like have to network. But also because we love cons and we like going. I want to be excited. I skipped San Diego pretty much wholesale. The only thing I tried to do was get that probe droid Hallmark ornament, which I didn't get. And the only thing I tried to do was get that ornament. That was my participation in San Diego Comic-Con this year, was trying to get that ornament, which I failed at. So like, it's just I skipped it entirely, and I feel like I missed nothing. And I should not feel like that.
Yeah. Well,
you need FOMO for cons. It needs to be like, oh no, I missed out.
Yeah. I should have been like hitting up Sully and Brandon. You remember Brandon? I haven't spoken to him in a little while, but like, yo, did you guys get this pop? Because I couldn't get this pop. You want to trade for this pop? That's what it should have been.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I did get a few things. Most of it happened to work out because I was doing my live streams in the evening when stuff would go on sale, and my audience would be like, hey, this just went up on Hallmark. Here's the link. And sadly, I should have thought of you, Sal, because I was on there, and I grabbed up that Deadpool itty bitty, and I got it in the first 2 minutes. It was up, no problem, checked out, done.
That's awesome.
Like, all right, moving on. I'm done.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, Sal, damn. Sorry, Sal. Next 2021, bud.
I'll tell him. I'll tell him on Tuesday when I see him.
I hear that ornament might also be available at New York Comic Con as well. So
they have done that before.
Yeah. So the big thing I want to bring up though is now that the collectible scene, I think they did good for what they could do, and I feel like the collectible scene did only okay because they there's no way they planned that stuff out a month ago. That stuff's probably been in the pipeline for like 2 or 3 years getting the product ready.
Can confirm.
There was no way that they were just going to be like, oh, we won't sell it.
Wait a year.
You think about it. I mean, I came from that industry working at Funko, and you can't have that stuff sitting in warehouses for a year. It costs too much to store it. You want to get it in the door and out the door and make your money. So if they had it, they were selling it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I feel like the collectible scene did okay, although this may hinder what they decide to do next year. Because like maybe they're going to be a little scared of having that much product, because as of right now, I think the earliest I heard of a full, like everything's fully back to normal would be like April. That's real close to San Diego. Like real close.
Well, on the flip side of that argument though, look at a company like a Funko where they normally have to pay for a booth on the floor space, all the employees, the travel. Instead, they put it online and they sell it. Yeah. It's pure profit.
So you're
Same
saying
thing
that
with all those companies.
They might plan either way because it's actually more of a net gain if everyone's product's online now. So that's just how you go get your stuff.
Exactly.
Hell, Funko could. I mean, like I don't expect them to do that, but theoretically they could just go, well, no, we won't have a booth. Like we'll just participate in San Diego digitally and just let you go online and get it during the week.
I mean, you're right, but that scares me. Like, I don't want to live in that world where I go to Comic-Con and now the San Diego looks like, and no offense to the con that I used to go to, but Comicpalooza in Houston doesn't have the big draws that San Diego does. They don't have those big booths, and that means people don't go.
Right.
Right. Well, and just the big, that's right, the big draws, pulls them in.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that's the concern. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just saying, like, the other concern, of course, besides like what a lame effort it was, or seemingly was this year, the concern is next year, because like you said, let's say worst case scenario, it is going to take a year. You know, if it's right up on San Diego, and San Diego's like, well, we don't even know if it's 100% like certain in April. Maybe we'll wait another month. Like, they might not have another show. We're looking at another online San Diego Comic-Con, like, or just nothing. I mean,
I don't want to live in that world.
Yeah, plus the lessons learned from this experience of being like, you know what, it did cost too much. Like, plus you look at the convention center, you know, they're going to try to recoup some loss, so they're going to be like, maybe we'll charge more. Like, the whole thing could unravel in a worst case scenario situation.
The biggest problem I have with what's happening to San Diego, though, is by not having anything huge at San Diego. Now DC is going to do its own fandom thing. So that means that if that does well, DCEU is announced there in August, right on the heels of San Diego. Marvel has the D23 thing where they do their own stuff and they have their own collectibles and they're involved in that. So since this year went through and they had no announcements, which means they weren't attached or required to do what San Diego wanted, do you think next year they're just going to check out and be like, we didn't need you last year, we don't need you this year?
I could.
Right.
They very well could. I don't.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen?
It's tough because you have to look at it from the business side. It's a business first.
Yeah.
Right.
They should look at it from the fan side first, but often that doesn't happen. They'll make an immediate decision, just like a company does when they're floundering. They will cut those kind of ties with their fans. They will cut out those events, or they'll do an event that saves money regardless of what it's going to do for their fans, just for that bottom line. And eventually that will backfire. Eventually that will come back and cause them problems. I can imagine DC, because they've kind of done it in the past. You watch them. Oh, I don't want you to be on the convention center floor with a giant DC booth. Let me take it over into the gas lamp and see what I can do over there. It's okay. You got more space, but now as a fan walking around the floor, like, where's that big booth that was here last year?
They're kind of like that in New York. Have you been in New York? So, you know, like they have that like tucked away area. I've literally been there before, and people.
But they do have the whole floor, like that. For them, they're like, no, we are this wing of the convention.
Yeah, but it's not obvious that they're there. Is more the issue that I run into. Yeah, because I've had a lot of people. Like, where's DC? Oh, you got to walk out and then to the right, and they're over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
Never
Marvel
mind. It's too hot out there. I'm staying here in the AC.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, Marvel secured that main floor position. They're going to keep it forever.
Yeah.
And so if you're hitting the main floor, or if you're a newcomer, or if you're just like there for collectibles, like, you're going to hit the main floor because like you either don't know any better, or you're like looking for something specifically on the main floor, and you're going to go, where the hell is DC? Like, where do they even end up? Yeah. No one's going to want to hear like go around the corner and go down. They have an entire wing. Because the other thing is, like, it's not a. I think when you're shopping or when you're going to a convention, it's not about where you're going specifically. It's not about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. Like, if you're looking for DC, you know, you're going to hit 16 other things on your way to DC.
Right.
If you're going to DC and you get there and it's just DC, like, is that enough? I'm sure DC Warners think so, because like, I feel like that DC fandom thing, that's going to be a real live convention someday, and they're going to go, great. We don't have to do San Diego. We don't have to do New York. We could just have the fandom.
Well, I feel like, and I brought this up last week, so I really would like to get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
Because you follow E3 as well, don't you? Because they do a lot of collectible. Okay. Yeah. E3 has been kind of like, in the last 3 or 4 years, splintering off. Nintendo's over here, Xbox. No one's on the floor anymore. And then officially this year, Sony was like, yeah, we're out too. Before there was even a pandemic. They're like, we're not going. We just don't care. And it's turning into, because Sony has their own convention, Xbox has their own convention. The only one left is Nintendo, and they're probably going to be like, oh, we'll just do our online thing. We do Treehouse every year. It's far cheaper, you know? So the question now is, if E3 is falling apart because everyone's leaving and doing their own thing with their own communities, it's a smaller convention, but it's more focused on what you care about. Like, I won't even lie. Natalie and I, my wife, we go to the Sony one. We love that. It's PlayStation, PlayStation, PlayStation. It's It's so awesome because as PlayStation fans, we love that. I don't know if, while I see the pros and cons of San Diego, if I could go to something and it's just DC, I don't know. I might be on board with doing that, you know? Here's my DC collectibles. Here's my DC Funkos. Here's, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think what's going to hurt
like
more
the
than
splintering.
Well, because I think it's going to hurt things.
Yep.
Because would you go to a con to get the Turtles toys? Would you go to a con to get the Power Rangers toys? You're getting them on the way to the big things,
Yeah, you need that overlap. You need that overlap of fandoms. That's why San Diego grew to the levels that it did, and we have all these other cons, because I can jump in the car and take some friends. I'm going to go check out all the Marvel, Firefly, Funko stuff. I'm going to be on the lookout for it, and the other person I'm with is not going to care about any of those things. They're going to go because they're into DC and Sideshow Collectibles and Hallmark.
Right.
I mean, I've literally gone... I've gone to the Funko booth, and I buy everything there because, I might not like this 2-3 things, but I got a buddy who does, so I'm bringing them back to the buddy. You know what I mean? Like, I agree 100%. Like, it's all about being able to all come together for the big San Diego thing, and I'm gonna miss that.
But
I am.
Isn't that where everything is going everywhere when it comes to disposable media? Like, part of the reason why Netflix has billions to spend, and the reason why everyone has a Netflix account, is because that's where everyone went. It was just one-stop shopping for everything.
Yeah.
And then when all these other media companies were like, oh, I want a piece of that pie, they splintered off, gutting Netflix and making it turn into a completely different thing than it was when it started. And, objectively speaking, that's bad for business because it's unsustainable. You're looking at like Disney Plus spending trillions of dollars, CBS All Access, DC Universe, HBO Max, like all these other things. Like there's a gazillion different streaming services that are all about $4 to $7 to $9 a month, and you're like, I can't afford 30 services all for $10 a month. Like that's obscene. And plus I got to have an internet connection, which is essentially a cable bill. Like that's too much. And
I know.
It's a bridge too far.
Everyone freaked out about that.
The conventions are kind of, but it's the same thing. Like the conventions are like a cultural mecca or a pop cultural mecca, and they reflect the pop culture.
They do.
It could be that it's all happening where like they all think. It's the same. It's the mentality of all these entertainment companies where they're like, I can get a big piece of that pie. Like I can get some San Diego money if I make my own San Diego Comic-Con. It's like, yes, but you're destroying something. And when you learn, by the time that DC, Marvel, Disney, everybody learns this lesson, San Diego won't probably exist if like they do that.
At least over the past decade, when cons have been really big, the cons played together in a way like puzzle pieces throughout the year. So you knew you're not going to schedule anything in the 2-week window on either side of San Diego. That's a suicide run. Everybody's already spent their money and they've done their travel, which is why we have Emerald City at the beginning of the year, and we have New York Comic Con at the end of the year, and then E3 kind of shimmied in between two of them, and PAX would kind of shimmy in between two of them. It made sense. And it was starting to get really convoluted and congested because there were so many Comic-Cons popping up. But they were starting to kind of work their way out. I mean, it's a great analogy with the cable companies, but cable companies and the streaming services are all just like, no, I'm going to win. No, I'm going to win.
And that's the thing. They're spending untold money because they just want to be because the thing that they're thinking isn't necessarily like, I'm going to make the best streaming service for Star Trek. They're like, I'll be the last one.
Yeah. And
like, they just need to survive. Like, it's really going to be like Disney Plus and Netflix, where it's like one of them is going to die and then be the exclusive arbiter of that streaming availability. Like eventually that's where it's going to go, where it's going to be where it was 10 years ago, but everyone will have spent the general wealth of an entire country.
Well, it'll happen, but then Netflix will be $29 a month. So it's a matter of where you want to allocate your cable bill that was your cable bill 15 years ago.
What it reminds me of is actually when I first got into YouTube. It was starting to take off. It was starting to be a big deal. And I remember getting out of the Army and getting into YouTube. And I would get paid obscene amounts of money with like a 400,000 sub channel to do stuff. Yeah. Like when we first got into YouTube, I mean, this is not the case anymore before somebody's like, wow, Benny makes obscene amounts of money. When I first got into YouTube and Comicstorian had like 400,000 subs or whatever, they would be like, can you come out and play a video game on our set, we're going to pay you 10 grand. And I was like, hell yeah, I am. That's like 4 months checks in the Army.
Yeah.
Yep.
But as,
Dude, I was having this. Yeah.
I was going to say, well, as time has gone on, that has obviously dried up. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I knew when that happened, this is not sustainable.
Nope.
I'll take whatever I can get while this is going on, and then I'm going to go to just live my life. But I feel like all that money because I would jokingly talk to my Army friends, I don't know where these people are getting their money or why they're throwing it at all of this, but they are.
Right.
You know, I feel like all of that money, they were like, well, we can't really break into YouTube and stuff successfully, but we can control a competitor for Netflix, YouTube, and all that stuff, and we have full control. So all the money went that way.
They think so.
I was literally having this like conversation with a few colleagues the other day where I was like, remember that time when major companies flew us places and put us up and like did all these things and they did it like that was how it's always done, and you're like, there's no way this is sustainable.
No.
And all your contacts just one day disappeared because they were all fired. and the concept of a company being like at some point or another they realized or came to their senses or just, I don't know, overspent, but they were like, wait a minute, who are you again? You're nobody. You're on YouTube.
Right.
It's like,
That's exactly what happened.
2 years ago, that was a big commodity for you. It's like, yeah, well, now it's not. Like,
Are you on TikTok?
like that. Those days are very over. Like, I feel bad for like the next generation, like the new generations of streaming service people, like streamers, where it's like, yeah, you're not gonna get the glad handing and the massaging that people got. I was on the tail end of that, but I was like, nope. I'll take that free meal. Thank you very much. Ooh, Ruth's Chris. This is a good steak. Thank you very much.
The amount of
forever.
things that me and Sal went to, Sully, that we would leave and go, who the hell is paying for this?
We were just like, there's no way. And you know what's funny? The person you'd work with was always like, I don't know. Like, my job is to take you out. This is the sweetest job I could possibly get.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So, going back to our topic on hand, I feel like that's what's happening at the streaming services, and I feel like that's what's happening to cons. And I feel like I do feel like we got to the point where there was just too many because everything looked the same, but I didn't want them all to end. Now it looks like it's going to be, okay, so you're going to go to San Diego for all the indie people, and you're going to go to E3 for the indie games, but then you got to go to the Xbox one, and then you got to go to the DC one, and then you got to go to the D23, and then you got to go to the, you know what I mean? And like, so we're still going to be having a convention every month, Sully, but now they're all themed.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
I can't go to them all. I mean,
Big time.
unless somebody wants to pay me to do it, which is the dream, but still.
No, we were just talking how they ended that stuff.
Yeah, they're not going to do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore. They used to pay me like thousands of dollars to do a tweet to like 30,000 people. Now they go, you have 50,000? Whatever. We'll go get David Dobrik.
No. or they reach out to you and they're like, hey, we'd love for you to do this. And you're like, sure thing, here are my rates. And they just never get back to you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you have rates? No. I just wanted you to do me this favor. And it's like, would you do me a favor? Like,
do me a favor, write me a check for that amount I told you.
yeah, exactly. No, feel free to drop a tweet with your like 200,000 Twitter followers that gets like 4 likes. Like, go ahead, enjoy your non-engagement, but like, you know, there's a value to that.
Here we are, 12 years into social media really being a thing, and these companies still haven't figured it out because it's the same guys that we talked about earlier that are running it. They still don't understand.
They just they got on board, which is where
because they didn't. Okay.
Well, I was gonna say, I think, and that doubles back to San Diego being handled the way that it was.
Right.
Like okay, you can't tell me that they did not have a short list of people they could have called, like you said, Sully, to get proper stuff made. Even if you had to condense it down to one solid day of content and you split that up to be the evening of every night and you did like all the more people doing stuff at home stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you need to tell me, like, look, if the movie star is going to do the looking up my nostrils camera, if I were the guy setting these things up, I'd be like, okay, so do you know how the internet works, Mr. Robert Downey Jr.? You know? And he'll be like, well, yeah, no, I get on my phone. I go, okay. can we schedule 30 minutes with our 16-year-old kid who lives down the street? Can we just schedule a thing with you? You know what? You don't even have to be there. Put your assistant on. We'll tell him how to set up your camera.
Or just like, Bobby, I need you to turn your camera just a little. Just turn your camera like just this much. Just do this. Do me a favor. Take your left hand. Put it on your webcam. Yep, there it is. Now move the muscles in your hand so that your hand moves up a little. That's it. Okay, thank you. That's all I needed you to do. If they can coordinate the entire cast of The Office to sit down and talk to each other on a Zoom call, they can get the people who make toys, action figures, comics, movies to sit down and do a live stream for like an hour. We're not asking for like a 24-hour like San Diego. Woo! Like Benny and I were part of the at-home Comic-Con, which is coordinated by people we know personally, who coordinated chained live streams, live shows back to back to back. It was like 10 hours. I don't remember how long it was, but it was all day.
Yeah. I only had to be there
wasn't
for an hour.
asking. See, right. But like they set up the people so that like, yeah, your job is to do an hour, and I've got 12 people, so I've got 12 hours. Like, and they're all worked out, and it's just people who knew the industry, who know the technology, who understand the infrastructure that they're working in to make it happen, and it happened pretty flawlessly, I might add, and you know, to pretty good success. I don't understand. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer to just get the right people.
I was saying the same thing in different words over the last few days. Get some experienced producers to help out on this thing, even if you have to drop a little coin. If San Diego Comic-Con had come to me and said, would you help us? I'd be like, I'll do it for next to nothing, just so I can later on go, I helped make San Diego Comic-Con at home happen in 2020. You know?
Yeah, the amount of people that I know that would have done that, I mean, you could have found probably a plethora of small streamers who know how to stream properly that would have been 100% willing to come on board for some really low, basically just compensation for their time. I'm not saying don't pay people. I'm not saying that. But
no.
I mean, I would have done it. I would have done it for free. But I'm in a unique situation where I would have just done it for the fun of it. You know?
Yeah.
Or I'll do it this year at a reduced rate because I know you're in a tough spot, but start planning for 2021 and keep my name on your speed dial or whatever the 2020 equivalent of a speed dial is.
It's just the I'll scratch your back. Like, yeah, I'll do it for free. And now we're colleagues. I know you, you know me, you know that I'm reliable, you know I'm willing to do you a favor. Maybe you'll be willing to do me a favor. That's all I'm asking. And like the reason why it didn't happen, I can promise you this, and I was watching like a Corridor Digital like podcast the other day about it. It's just the reason it didn't happen is exactly what, like your, Sully, your terminology, like some producer, there are no producers who do what we do. There's no producer at the Hollywood level, at the TV executive level. Nothing that we do. We're not producers, you see. Like, producers make TV shows and movies. We're internet people.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I'm not gonna call an internet person and ask them hat in hand to explain to me my goddamn business. Like, and that's really legitimately, I'm saying that's their attitude. Their attitude is just this kind of like holier than thou, like, yeah, I need the internet. I understand I need it, but like, I need to still manage to be in a position where you need me. Yeah. Because I'm on top. And it's like, dude.
No, it's so like, true. Dude, it reminds me, I was watching the Nathan Fillion panel, and they were talking with him and Joss Whedon about the Dr. Horrible sing-along blog. And that was originally pitched to Bezos at Amazon before they had a streaming service, and he turned his nose up at it and said, no, because you're talking about an internet thing, and we don't deliver content to the internet. That's what television is for. And if they had just embraced it then, they would have been ahead of the curve, but they turned their nose up at it, much like, I mean, we're seeing that transition now from traditional... It's not even traditional. It's only 5 years old of streaming services and now live streaming. And holy crap, Amazon owns the biggest one. We're on it right now.
Yeah. Bezos recognized the value at some point. Let's say, well, and we're seeing it across the board, just like this devaluing, maybe artificially, by like TV, movie, and Hollywood, I guess you'd call it. And saying like, no, we need to maintain this disconnect. What do you think the term influencers came from? You think the people on the internet named us that? Like,
no.
It's a horrible term. It's so diminishing. I loathe it. And yet, anytime we do any business with anybody from that side of the world, it's always the same thing. It's always that terminology, and it's like it's so that I can you call you. There's a word for you, and it means over there.
Put you in that bucket.
Yep.
Yeah, you go in there, and that way, because everything needs to be compartmentalized, and everything needs to be labeled, and those labels need to have like artificial numerical values to them.
So they can put it in their spreadsheet, and
and be like, okay, well, an influencer makes this much money, or an influencer is worth this much time.
Well,
what's a better term?
I get the terminology. I've video producer, new media. A lot of times when I go apply for things, I just say I work in new media. New media.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my LinkedIn. It's like, yeah, of course, because like that is what it is, and they're like, no, it's not new media. You're an influencer. You influence your audience to buy things that we make. That's what you are.
Wow,
it's like,
okay, getting really heated about this, Sully.
No, I'm being them. Like I'm saying, like it's because
the
it's
life
like
is coming out of them.
Yeah, because it's this deliberately obstinate, like anti-progress kind of attitude that it's like, why did San Diego fail? You know, that they had like a meeting, like a real life suit and tie meeting where they were like, okay, so let's open the room. Why did it fail? Let me write on the board why it failed. And it's like, it failed because you're doing this, because this is the way you're running your business, because you didn't think about what the audience wanted. Anyway.
It's funny because you're right. They were 100% against YouTube and doing stuff on YouTube, and YouTubers are just garbage. They could never act or anything like that. And then the moment a pandemic hits, they're all doing YouTube-style videos just very poorly.
They're 10 years behind.
Yeah, and the con's the exact same thing. We do these podcasts every week, and the con's like, no. That is for the show. Like, okay, so an Emerald City that Sal and I did 4 years ago, podcasters, Sully, were regulated to their own hall, their own space.
Oh, yeah.
It was like no. You're just,
and not like, but not in a really cool way. Not in a like Artist Alley podcast. They called it Podcast Alley. It was a legit alley that had a dead end that was around. It was in between two parts of the building came together, and there was like an incidental alley. They crammed us into that crevice.
Yeah,
and like and we missed so many people who were like, I was at Emerald City, I didn't see you, and it's like because there was no like good signage. There was like you just walked right past.
I remember that year, and I wanted to participate in that, and I had to go hunting for it to find out it's upstairs in what now is Artist Alley area, but like you said, buried against one wall. And it was really disheartening when the next year they didn't take that and try to spin it into something bigger. It was just gone.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe they just did away with it. I was honestly hurt. I really was looking forward to participating in it.
I feel like with podcasts, like Emerald City and San Diego and all them, they just looked at it as, no. That's a poor man's panel. You have to understand what we're here for. You know, like
as Spotify understood, how much did they just drop in podcasting over the last year or two?
Yeah,
right.
They're getting it.
Yeah. Well, but they're getting it like 2, 3, 5 years too late.
Yeah.
You know, like they're just behind, and it's just. I get it. Like I get the reticence towards investing in what they consider to be new media. You know, like I don't want to be the joke. I don't want to invest in Quibi. You know what I mean? Because Quibi is straight up, I'm old and I have no idea how the internet works. How about this?
Do you know what Quibi is, Sully?
Yeah, actually, I've listened to a few podcasts where people break down some of the shows and stuff, but just seeing the board that put it together, the leading founders, I immediately was like, nope, you've already failed. You need a different face on this thing.
Yep, $1 trillion wasted.
Yeah,
and what's
what we
even
could have done with
is,
the fraction of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, imagine if you just like if you were like, let's say you're like, I'm John Q. businessman, and I have a very expensive suit that I wear to every meeting I go to, and I go to a lot of meetings, and like, so he's got all this money. And he's like, I want to invest in comics. Like, I want to invest in comic media. Like, the least you do is you Google it. Oh, I don't know how to do that. Son, I need you to Google, Google the largest, and then you just work it out with them. I mean, like, you call up the biggest and you see, and you see who reacts and what they're, and you get in, like, you didn't get into business necessarily by accident. Like, you know how to read people and read a room and understand, like, if someone's like a psychopath or whether they're like, understand how media and business works. And so, and you work it that way, but you go through them and you, like, imagine if it's like, Well, look at how any new media company or any media company tries to invest in, like, remember when SourceFed Nerd got bought by Now This, and they removed all their videos and just replaced all their videos with like new stuff, and the audience just like, you can't just buy 1 million subscribers and then replace the entire audience. Like.
The best part was when they did delete all the old videos. Like, what did you think was going to happen if you just you just hired a bunch of new hosts?
They didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't think.
And not even acknowledge it. They just rebranded it. Like, no. I bought a channel with 1 million subs, and therefore they will all watch what we give them. Like, you don't just buy. Like, sure, that might have worked if you bought, I don't know, some crappy cable channel. Right. And just put different programming on it. Yeah, that's how that works.
You were trying to say something? He was trying to jump in there.
Oh, I don't remember the thought, but I'll just say your performance of the businessman and his son was the best Quibi show I've watched.
It's a solid service.
Wait, hold on. Have you actually watched Quibi?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. For me, I was gonna be like, I need some info on this thing because I'm not paying for it.
Yeah. No, I literally listened to one podcast. I won't name the podcast, but they did an entire breakdown. They each watched 3 separate shows, at least 3 episodes, and they broke them down. And basically across the board, it sounded like it was just straight poo. I mean, there was nothing good. I mean, I didn't hear anything that enticed me to want to get the service.
The people that I've seen that have done it, they said that there are some really sound ideas on there, but they're just not being delivered in a way that makes sense. Is what everyone's saying that I've seen about it.
And I've heard some of that content is actually going to go to other streaming services so they can try to at least recapture some of their funding that they put into it.
The moment you start to see all those shows going to other platforms, like with DC Universe, that's when you know they're either like, I still stand by my theory that DC Universe was intended to do that from the beginning because they moved way too quick in that direction.
Quibi's just very fast.
Yeah, my theory, Sully, is that DC Universe was created with the intention of making those shows and giving them a home if they couldn't find another home. But since they never went international with it, they never did anything beyond that. My theory was, here's where the shows can go. We're gonna fund the shows, and if we can sell them, great. We can prove we can make shows about whatever people are willing to watch. That's what I think it was made for. Now I could be completely wrong, but.
I could imagine actually in some way, because it's like, remember when YouTube was like, I'm going to give like the top few YouTubers like a bunch of money and just have them do stuff.
Yeah.
And they gave Phil DeFranco a bunch of money and they were like, you're going to make like, and he promised he would make something. I don't remember what it was. It was going to be like a sketch channel or something like that.
I thought it was SourceFed. I thought it was SourceFed.
Well, no, it was SourceFed, but he lied to them because he was like, I want to make a daily news channel, and they were like, no, we're not going to fund that. And he's like, we're going to make like sketch comedy, and they're like, oh, okay, here's all your money, and he just made SourceFed instead. And it was like, I mean, like, there's no contract that said I had to make that. It's just that like they were provisionally giving me the money on some other premise, and so he just did that. And I can imagine them doing like DC being like, no, we're making a streaming service, and like they knew damn well that HBO Max was coming, and they knew that like if they create a streaming service, there's probably something within the AT&T Warner Brothers contract that's like, if you make this, you must make this amount of content. You have to have this budget allocated for said content. You need to make this much of the budget allocated towards advertising for said content, which is where we came in, and how they could afford to let us like go and do all these things. And it was like, maybe it was that they said, yeah, no, we're making a streaming service, but really what we're doing is what you suggested, Benny, which was that like really we're making pilot programs for shows that are actually comic book accurate that are gonna go to HBO Max and CW. Like, no, we're not really gonna be genuinely making content, which is why they canceled the cheapest show they made, which was DC Daily. The cheapest, easiest show to make. It costs... Like, I mean, the only reason why it cost so much is because they had like 19 hosts for some reason.
Was probably like, honestly, DC Daily, I thought about that. I think that was the dumping ground for all the rest of the money.
Right. It had to be.
Oh.
So you hired 19 hosts for no reason. Oh, we happen to have $100,000 left over. Okay, you need to spend that. And the reason why, Sully, back in the military, we would go and in the military we would go to the range. And if you went to the range and you said I need 4,000 rounds, you needed to use 4,000 rounds. If you brought any of it back, next time they would say, well, you didn't
couldn't
use
get the 4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's budgeting in big business. Same scenario.
That's right.
It's the end of the year. Spend it. Yep.
Yeah. So they probably were like, there's like, because DC Daily, for all intents and purposes, should have been you, me, and like 3 other YouTubers.
Should have been our podcast.
It would have been right. It would have been our podcast. It would have been just an easy show to make. They could have paid us anything, and we would have done it. And it would have just been the cheapest, quickest, easiest show to make. They wouldn't have had to worry about production. They wouldn't have had to do anything. Editing, no, forget about it. And yet, they hired all these people who I know were taken care of financially. And they, talked about... It was so, like, by the numbers. It was so, like, regimented and being like, just say nice things about this thing. And, some of the hosts, like, didn't even read comic books. They were just like, okay, I'll just talk about whatever. Like, what do I need to know? Like, it was just this thing. And it was such an easy, quick, cheap thing to produce. But it looked impressive because it was, like, on a set with, like, lots of cameras and costumes and stuff. Like,
yeah.
Like, and they canceled that first. That was the first thing they were like, oh, that's over. Like, really?
Well, they burned the budget. They burned the budget.
Right. Well, they're like, I think they're phasing it out. It's just like, it's done. No, we're done. We're out. Like,
that studio's just sitting there somewhere, too, probably. They probably haven't taken it down yet.
It was Machinima Studios.
Oh, yeah, because WB bought Machinima, and then, like, we've been to the studio. It's actually not that large either.
It's not. Like, they had one area for shooting. Like... But yeah, it was.
I feel like we're pseudo on topic, but also like way off topic. I don't.
Yeah, because like the whole thing. I think if I may, I think it's just like we're talking about how it's like why did San Diego Comic-Con online fail, and it's like because of entrenched old management that refuses to grow and change and accept what we are. And it's like on one hand, I appreciate that they took like any initiative and did anything. And it's like, I appreciate that it took, like, it's like, how great could San Diego Comic-Con have been in, like, 3 weeks? With 3 weeks worth of work and planning. Not great. It couldn't have been phenomenal. Yeah. But, if they had, thought about it, or reached out to the right people, it could have been better than it was. And it's just because, and I think what we're doing is we're giving examples of times where it's like, where the old guard and Hollywood thought they knew better than the media that they wanted to exploit and use.
You know what?
And it was
Sully, I got one for you. I got one that's going to line up for you. Funko is probably one of the biggest toy producers at this point. Bigger than Hasbro. Well, not bigger, or at least on par with like Hasbro and all these other big names. And in my opinion, part of the reason I love Funko products is because they're willing to try things. They're willing to do things. They're willing to adapt to the times. And I feel like that is what we're getting at with this. If you're willing to change and adapt, that's how you succeed as things move. Otherwise, you get left in the dust, And I feel like that's what happened to E3. That's what's happening to San Diego, unless they get their shit together. Now, they could take this and reflect on the whole thing and be like, hey, guys, we got to like rethink this. You realize how bad that was?
But I feel like the real concern is that they're going to go, well, thankfully, that was an isolated incident. We're going to go back to business as usual next year.
Well, why not? Why? Sorry, that's Sully?
I would say they can't do that. We know the obvious reason. We could be in the same situation next year. But then the other part is, and we talked about this a little bit, will the fans come back? Are the other companies going to be there? Will life ever be the same again? And the answer is no across the board. We need to start planning for a hybrid model of San Diego Comic-Con that people can also enjoy from home. Yeah. But we still want to be able to have product on the floor. We still want to be able to have people buying stuff online. We need to up our internet so that everyone there can actually live stream and share photos and get the word out about how more awesome it is to be on the show floor than at home on your couch. So we can keep this thing going. But imagine the money they could make online if they sold some sort of Comic-Con at home subscription next year for that 1 month where you paid and got all your content and access to exclusives. And I mean, there is some money to be made there if they'll just spend a little time.
Instead of giving you the Hall H experience with the echoey mics and the airy everything and the crappy 480 cameras, they actually just sat down for 5 minutes and said, okay, so let's make these 3 panel rooms viable to watch online. And then we can sell that, what you just said, Sully, for that.
Yeah.
Doesn't PAX do that? Where it's like you go, like most of the panels are streamed on their Twitch channel?
I don't know.
Yeah, but they're super low quality. That's the point I'm making. Like,
that's weird because like I remember going to PAX East, PAX West, like, and like you could go to the panel or you could just walk through the. I remember being on like in the hallways and they had TV set up that were streaming the panels like through their Twitch channel, and I was like,
But they still didn't
Why is
sound
everyone
good.
doing this?
That's my point, though. They still weren't high quality. It was still very low quality.
That's weird to me. I was like, oh, I didn't investigate it. I just assumed it was like the future. It's like that's what we.
But
should
what
be
I'm
doing
saying
anyway.
is, if you could plan for that, what if you plan for that, Sully? And next year you lock in the guests, you lock in everyone, and you come in with a caveat. Your panel's still going to happen, but if we can't get you on the show floor, here's how we're going to handle it online.
Brilliant.
You know?
Like I'm already excited about that idea. Like I would totally like. What do you want me to sign up? How do I pay you so I can watch that next year if I can't go?
No,
I
we
would
need
throw
to
money
get
at that.
you and me. We'll organize the whole thing. We'll just we'll work pro bono for half the year, and then when we show that it works, you pay us.
Right. I'm in. It's already better than my current rate.
So I guess at the end of the let me put it. Let's kind of close out our because I feel like we're getting very doom and gloom, and I'm trying to like reel it back from that. Let's say this happens again next year, but Marvel and DC are not there.
Oof.
Okay, let's just say that's officially it. Like they're done. Marvel's gonna have one Hall H panel. DC's gonna have one Hall H panel. They're gonna have no presence on the floor next year. They're doing their own thing. What do you think that's the beginning of the end? Officially, the beginning of the end.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you have a giant tent and you're taking down the main tent poles, or a giant building and you're taking down the pillars. Without those to build on, I mean, you can go with 2 out of 3, but you can't lose all 3. There's no way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because that's kind of where we're at now, I think. Because like Marvel and DC were there, but they didn't put any effort into it. Like it was like,
no,
here's the comics.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. And I
Sal and I
think
were
it's
talking
inevitable.
Well, Sal and I were talking about this.
No,
The big event in Marvel DC right now, Sully, is death metal. All about death metal.
Yeah.
We had the writer of death metal on our show to talk about death metal. The biggest thing in comics right next to deceased right now, and San Diego Comic-Con didn't have a single thing about death metal.
What?
No.
Wow.
No, I saw Scott was on a panel for San Diego, and I don't remember what it was, but he was wearing the same shirt that he was wearing for our show, which suggested to me that he recorded like all that San Diego stuff like 2-3 weeks earlier.
That he basically did it all that day, and that's why he was so easy to book that day. He was just
I think it's why he was like, we got to do it, but it's got to be right now. It's like, because I got to record another thing like right after that and right before that.
I'm
like,
all set up.
I'm shooting. Yeah, I'm set up. I got the lighting. I'm good. I got my nice shirt on. I'm good to go. Let's do this.
It was really weird the way he did it,
by the way,
because we were supposed to have him on at the same time as you, and I got a message like last second, we got to go an hour early. Like
I watched that one.
Yeah, yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. Like it was so weird because like we're like we can do it, but it's gonna be a scramble. Like
yeah. And it was a great show, and he was awesome, and I'm so glad we got a chance to do it. But it's like that's so funny. Like I feel like that's exactly what happened. Which is like I get it, but at the same time, it's like, dude.
Well,
not him, but like San Diego. Like, why wasn't it live? Like, why not make a live show? I don't understand.
That further proves our argument too. You guys stepped up and were able to do that on the fly with good quality. And you were able to get your audience involved, and you had a good showing. I mean, that just proves what we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Sully, you do basically the podcast style format like on a nightly basis. How often do you change your show on the fly like that?
Oh, I'm constantly changing. Yeah, I mean, somebody will bring something up and go, "What about Stan Lee pops?" I'm like, "Hey, let's look at all my Stan Lee pops. Hold on a second." You know, like, I mean, that's why one of the reasons I have that stuff. But yeah, you have to be able to adapt and change on the fly. What if a big story breaks right now, something I want to talk about, and I'm going to go on at 5? I'm not going to ignore it. I want to do something about it. I got a browser set up as one of my sources so I can show people and we can talk to it and,
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I'm going to throw this out there. I'm Still Here says that Greg Capullo did a whole reveal for death metal at San Diego Comic-Con. So if that actually happened, which I believe you it did, I did not hear about that at all. Which is even worse.
Yeah, how do you not know?
I don't know.
That's even worse than they didn't get the guy. They did get him, or one of the guys on the project, and they just... How was that?
Okay, I'm looking at it right now. It was DC... The title of the panel is called DC at Home Day 2. DC at Home is one word. DC at Home Day 2 official panel, Comic-Con 2020, through IGN's channel, 11,000 views.
That's why I didn't hear about it.
Like, what? Jim Lee's on it. It's a star-studded panel, but again, it's through IGN's channel. They should know how to tag and title their videos.
I say there's a lot that goes into a title. You got to spend a couple minutes. It's not that last second thought when you go to hit go.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The title is the best thing about your stream or your thing. I mean, I'll admit I have some lazy titles, but I've been doing this long enough that sometimes I just go screw it.
Same.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. But at the same time, there's been titles that I've agonized for 4 hours over. Like,
Yeah.
is Batman dead or Batman dead? Like, do I add the is?
You know the game.
Yeah. Do I add the is? The is will make it more clearer. But the other one will get a lot more clicks.
Right.
So
Crazy. Well, I don't want to say we were all doom and gloom. I think what we're looking at, and we did have a little negativity, but we want it to be the best possible quality. If we're all going to be at home, we just want to see what we know is possible out there. I want to watch a panel like I saw in Hall H 3 years ago, and it is possible to come close.
yeah.
It's not going to be the same, but it's possible to come close.
Well, like, a Hall H panel is only limited by the amount of people who can be there. But like theoretically, a Hall H panel, like, wouldn't it have been amazing to have like the kind of star power and enthusiasm about a Hall H panel? But like, you had 1 million people there. Like, you have the potential to have millions of people watch your panel as opposed to 1,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, all you got to do is figure out what people want and make it happen for them. And
If it was
go.
Marvel 2021 films hosted by Tom Hiddleston, 1 million people would watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today we're going to sit down and look at my career with Marvel.
Then I squint at the thumbnail. Who are these people?
Yeah, exactly.
Give me some names. Give me some fire.
But yeah, if there's no audience, you could have more cameras. Our chat's bringing up Our chat is doing a better job than San Diego did.
Yeah.
Well, because they know they're the audience. They're the guys who watch live shows. They know what their expectations should be.
Right.
I've got multiple cameras. I have no budget. I have a zoom-in camera for product and a spinny wheel. It didn't cost me that much.
In all honesty, Sully, you doing that stuff, and I've gone through a few of my friend streamers, is part of the reason I upgraded everything, and I'm only like 1/10 of the way of what I'm getting to.
Nice.
So,
If you need a producer.
yeah, help me do a better stream. So, okay, I think at this point, guys, we're going to bring the show to a pretty much close, because I think we're just going to start talking in circles at this point, I think.
Yeah.
I will say, as a final note, Sully, out of everything that did happen to San Diego, I think you followed it the closest. What were you most excited about? What did you get excited about? And in Collectibles, I'm all on board with that, because I got a feeling it was probably Collectibles.
Oh, it definitely was. I mean, just getting access to exclusives. It was tougher this year because you did have the entire world going after it at the same time. I was able to snag a few things. I mean, to go even further, I think Mondo did a really good job this year. I've been a big fan for a long time, and I got this gorgeous Martin Anson Star Wars timed release poster that they probably normally would have sold like, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500. I can't wait to see what the number on that thing is. I bet they sold 15,000 of that poster at $100 a piece. Kudos to Mondo. You did a great job. I love that poster. I can't wait to get it. I don't care how many are out there.
No, I got mine too.
I didn't.
I got that
and
one.
now I need to hang out with you guys and steal yours. I mean, see yours.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the collectibles. And then when it came to panels, I did watch a few that were pretty good. I really like Kevin Smith hosting the Bill and Ted panel. I think he did a wonderful job. They spent some time on graphics, still the camera and audio, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the Motu panel for him?
Oh, I did not. For his show that's coming up? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to watch that. Yeah, for sure.
I can't wait for that show. I think we're like still a year out from getting that show.
It's okay. It's okay. We want quality, and man, that voice cast alone has me sold. So
yeah, the studio they're using is Powerhouse Animation. I've worked with them in the past. They're super fun. They like started out as like a Flash animation studio for hire, and now they're like a real studio. It's really cool. Like I'm so hyped for that show.
So they're real fans, and we're going to get what we deserve or what we want because they're real fans.
I think so. And they're also going to be swinging for the fences because like I don't know too many like TV studios that hire Powerhouse Animation. So they're going to be like, no, we're a real animation studio. Like, watch us work. Like,
awesome.
You're going to see some like really cool stuff.
Can't wait.
So, all right, well then, we're gonna close out the show here, guys. Sully, we had a few people that came in midway through, and they're wondering who the guy at the cap is. Why don't you let them know who you are and where they who you? Yeah, no, I said that right. Who you are, where they can find you. And for some reason, my brain was like, you said that wrong.
It was wonderful. I knew what you were going for. Yeah, everybody, my name is Sully. I am a free agent nerd. I am a podcaster, and I am an affiliate Twitch streamer. You can catch me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at CSSULLY. I stream pretty much 6 nights a week. Only day I take off is Thursday. Come join in the conversation and the fun as I occasionally play video games, but mostly just show off fun stuff that I collect and talk with my audience. I love to engage. And then check out my podcast at Movie Retakes on Twitter and Movie Retakes pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yeah. No, he's a good friend. We hoping to have him on more shows, maybe some with more centralized topics. But hey, I had a lot of good with our topic today. I had a lot of fun. Either way, thank you guys so much. Don't forget, this is on the Comicstorian podcast channel. We stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, various podcasts talking about comic books, comic book news, fun, just games. We do all kinds of weird stuff here. Thursday will be our Capes and Pals superhero D&D game. Yeah, you can find Sully over on his channel. I may or may not be live on my channel after this. You can find me doing solo stuff at Comicstorian Gaming here on Twitch. And Sal is over at Comic Pop. I don't think I gave you your proper intro this time. Comic Pop, and right now I believe Tiffany is playing Comic Book TV.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, it's just Comic Pop now. We dropped the TV. It's just twitch.tv/Comic Pop.
Nice.
We got it back.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's the end of today's show. We'll see you guys next week right here on Tuesday.